Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are back with some more History Matters, another short animated documentary. This time, what did Kaiser Wilhelm do after his abdication, after World War One? I'm curious. I wonder if he just partied. I'm thinking that History Matters will have a lot of good dry humor in this one. Like I got a good feeling about this episode. But before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Alright, let's go ahead and find out what Kaiser Wilhelm just did when he was no longer Kaiser and just exiled Wilhelm.
Wilhelm Hohenzollern, the former Kaiser Wilhelm II, died in the Netherlands in 1941.
RIP.
He had abdicated the throne in 1918 just prior to the end of the First World War and fled from Belgium, which raises the question, what was he doing during those 21 years? Why did he pick the Netherlands to flee to, and how did he feel about Germany during his time there? Well, to answer the first question, the reason why Wilhelm picked the Netherlands was simple. He couldn't go anywhere else. Since Germany
Fair enough.
was in late 1918 falling apart, with socialist revolution, military revolts and popular discontent gripping the country. His abdication had happened in the town of Spa in Belgium, and so he had few options. Travel to the west and hand himself over to the Allies, who likely weren't going to be too kind to him, travel to another country via Germany and risk capture by the discontented groups there, or travel north to the Netherlands and hope that that worked out. And of course he opted for the latter, which was quite the surprise for the sole Dutch soldier
And we live here.
who was working that particular border crossing. After much deliberating, the Dutch granted him access. The former Kaiser then spent some months at Amerongen where nothing really happened, providing you ignore the time when US Army Colonel and former Tennessee Senator Luke Leyer attempted to kidnap him in early 1919.
What? U.S. Senator did what? Tried to do what? Why? What for? What?
It wasn't a very good attempt, though. He and some other US soldiers went to Amerongen claiming to be diplomats who wanted to speak to the former Kaiser. Wilhelm said no, and so they left. With all that drama out the way, the Kaiser soon purchased a villa at Doorn, whilst importantly not knowing what was going to happen to him. You see, the Entente were putting a great deal of pressure on the Netherlands to extradite the former Kaiser to stand trial. The Dutch said no because they were a sovereign nation which had opted to grant him asylum, and they didn't want to diminish that. In the end, Allied disagreements, more pressing international matters, and simply time meant that the calls for Wilhelm's extradition simply petered out. After this, Wilhelm settled into
I'm old now.
his new life in the Netherlands, and it wasn't long after that his wife, the former Empress Augusta, died. He got married again shortly afterwards and took to justifying his previous actions as German Kaiser.
Oh no. Don't do that, Wilhelm.
He spent the next decade and a half decrying the new Weimar Republic and blaming weak ministers and the Jews for his downfall.
Oh, god damn it.
He was also patiently waiting for the day that the German people would inevitably realise this and invite him back to rule again. Wilhelm maintained conservative and monarchist contacts in Germany throughout the 1920s, most of whom, like the National Socialists and their mustachioed leader, he didn't care for. His attitude towards them softened in the early 1930s when they started to win many votes, and Wilhelm met with Hermann Göring twice to discuss the idea of restoration. But of course, Hitler wasn't interested in sharing power or restoring the monarchy, which is why after he secured power he banned all monarchist societies. At this point it became pretty clear that Wilhelm wasn't going to get his throne back, and his hatred for Hitler grew and grew. The feeling was mutual, and the Nazi Party outlawed any monarchist symbols, and Hitler publicly decried the old monarchy as having brought Germany to ruin. Not because Wilhelm shouldn't have started the war in the first place, but because Hitler thought that he should have refused to surrender under any circumstances. This mutual disdain continued up until the annexation of Austria, which the Kaiser approved of, and the conquest of Poland. When, in 1940, the Netherlands was invaded by the Wehrmacht, Wilhelm was left well alone and no one from the German military bothered him. He had actually been offered asylum in Britain by Winston Churchill, but he refused to accept it, preferring to remain in his new home and accept his fate there. Wilhelm also congratulated Hitler after the fall of France, something which he considered to be revenge for 1918. Kaiser Wilhelm was getting old at this point and was becoming unwell. He died in 1941, and Hitler at first wanted him to be returned to Germany to be buried in a ceremony which implied that Hitler had been appointed his successor. Although Wilhelm had
Last will and testament. I, Wilhelm II, don't want to be buried in Germany until they make my son king. Also, no that symbol or crying at my funeral. They're gross. Like in the English way, not the German way.
Had written in his will that he did not wish to be buried in Germany until the monarchy had been restored there, which interestingly is something that the Nazis respected, and he was buried at his home in Doorn. Ultimately, Wilhelm would never get the recall to the throne that he always believed he would. Monarchism in Germany never recovered after the mid-1930s, and Wilhelm spent the last decades of his life in semi-seclusion, not as a member of royalty but simply as Mr. Hohenzollern. I hope you enjoyed this.
Okay. And that was what Kaiser Wilhelm did after his abdication, a short animated documentary. He just chilled and vibed in a probably very expensive house, because he had money taken from people, as all emperors and kings do. This was a good video. It wasn't as funny as I was kind of hoping for it to be, but that's okay. It was still a good video by History Matters, as always. They always make good videos. I have nothing to really add here at the end, aside from that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.